right, welcome back, everybody. My name is Mike Recinto, and we have our next episode of Inside Look, a view into South Jersey girls basketball. And I have a special guest today that I'll let introduce himself.
Hey, Mike, how's it going? I'm Mike Velardi, coach of Hammonton girls basketball team.
Great. I'm so glad that we were able to connect, and just looking forward to meeting you and talking with you and having our audience kind of learn a little bit about you. So we'll get started, but I want to let everybody know that you're a first-year coach at Hammonton, and you bring a lot of energy and excitement to the program, and you're hoping to build for a long time, not just for the near future, but over the course of several years. And you're there, you're invested because you live in the community, you went to that school, you teach in the school district, so you're there to stay, and I think that's really admirable. So why don't we get started? Why don't you tell us about what it's like to live in Hammonton?
Well, I just moved out about 2 years ago with my wife, 3 years ago. But I was 37 years or so, born and raised there. Went to high school there. Teach there now. So it's quite an experience to be there. Actually,
I'll tell you what, a lot of people think that Hammonton is mostly farms, and there is a lot of farmland there, but the downtown Hammonton area, in my opinion, the last maybe 10 years, and maybe more than that, has really made a comeback with some breweries, a refacing of the town. They have some unbelievable restaurants, Italian for sure, and then there's some Mexican restaurants and a Mexican food truck that I know about that's phenomenal. So if you've never been to Hammonton, if you ever go, when you go play against those, Hammonton team, go out to dinner with your family, and explore the town, because I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. So why don't you tell us
everybody loves Maplewood. Maplewood's a great place to go, right on the Pike, and a lot of pizza places. Bruni's is one of the best around. And like you said, the Mexican places, everybody loves them.
I think it's Marcello's. Is that how you pronounce it?
Marcello's is the Italian restaurant.
Yeah, their pizza is very good. And then you got the Menino's Cannoli Express.
Oh yeah.
There used to be I don't know if it's still there. Like, it would be a bagel coffee shop that's across the street from Marcello's as well.
Yep, it's there. Yeah, Bagel Cafe.
The best pies in South Jersey is at the Red Barn on 206.
That is also a favorite. Yep.
We've gone there so many times for soccer, and I remember taking pictures of the pie, and it was like a work of art. It could be in like a cooking magazine. That's how beautiful the pies were. You almost didn't want to eat it. It's the only pie I've never had leftovers for. Like, if you put it on the table, people devour it, and it's just gone. So if you don't get your slice right away, that pie is just disappears.
The owner of that place was my 6th grade language arts teacher.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. We used to do this ride. We used to call it the pie rides. I used to ride bicycles a lot, but now my hobbies has been my daughter's basketball. But we would ride our bicycles 25 miles from Medford, New Jersey, down 206. We'd go to the pie barn, and then we'd eat pie. We'd have coffee. I don't drink coffee, but tea and that kind of thing. Then we'd ride our bicycles back, and that's how we would spend our Friday mornings, almost every Friday.
So you got the turf farm in the back where you guys play soccer now, right?
Oh yeah, the turf farm. Everybody's been there. That's the only place I've ever been to that the configuration is never the same 2 times in a row.
Right.
Like, every time you come, they rip up the sod and then they move everything, and then the map is different, and all the fields are misarranged or disarranged, and it's all kind of crazy down there. So let's talk about your family a little bit. Tell us about what it's like to be a husband and a dad, and tell us about your kids and stuff like that.
Yeah, married to my wife Dana. We have 2 boys. We have an almost 2-year-old Gio and an almost 11-year-old next month, Luke. Yeah, it's awesome. It's a very rewarding experience being a dad, and having 2 boys is really cool. Not that I wanted to have a girl or didn't want to have a girl, but it would have been nice to have 1 and 1, but 2 is fantastic. Boys are great.
Oh yeah, boys are great, girls are great. It's you make the most of it. And honestly, I'm going to tell everybody that I was really disappointed when I first heard that I was going to have a daughter, only in the fact that every person would look at my wife and they would go, "Oh, she's going to have a boy." So everybody had me convinced I was having a boy. Right. So I was like, I don't know how you can look at somebody and say they're going to have a boy. I don't know. But all these women were coming up to me, "Oh, you're going to have a son. You're going to have a son." So they had me thinking. So when we went to, get the ultrasound and stuff like that, they said, "Oh, you're having a daughter." And I was like, "Oh, really?" I'm like, I guess I'm having a daughter. I mean, everybody pumped me up. So I'm never going to
I think
listen
I
to
kind of did
anybody.
the same thing. I did the same thing because, like I said, I kind of wanted to have one-on-one.
Right.
And when they said it was a boy, I was like, oh, great. But I've already been, I already had the other boys. So I was kind of hope for one-on-one.
Oh, that's great. What grade is your son in, your older son?
Fifth.
Oh, wow.
Luke's in
So is
fifth.
he,
Yeah.
how's he enjoying school right now? Is he going to school or is he staying home or
He's all virtual right now. But he loves it. I mean, especially, I just got done my school about an hour ago, but being a teacher, and we were all virtual today, and we're live streaming the kids in our classrooms so that they get an everyday, education, which is something that if I told somebody 5 years ago, probably would have thought that, what are you talking about, live streaming in the classroom? So it's
Yeah.
definitely a different experience.
Yeah, it's totally changed. I mean, I still remember March 13th last year,
Mhm.
watching in our county, Herb Conway, went in and did this press conference and said that schools were going to be closed until after spring break. And I thought about it. I was like, that's like 5 weeks. That's a long time. Here we are. School is still not the same way it was back then, and it's slowly getting better. But who would have imagined that we would have been able to shift from in person live lessons to now going to Zoom or now hybrid, where you have some kids in the classroom, some kids at home. I mean, it's a lot, but I think the kids have been really resilient, and the teachers. I mean, I have a lot of respect for the teachers who had to kind of adjust on the fly and make things work, because I think a lot of stuff that you plan for in person, you have to kind of adjust your lesson plan.
And like
For,
today traditionally would have been a snow day.
yeah,
So, but it counted today because we did live streaming, which is nice. You don't have to make these up in the summertime.
yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
mean, there's pluses for sure.
Yeah.
If you're not feeling good, you could just stay home and you can take class, instead of getting, having a sick day, the kid can still come to school, but he might have like a little cold or a headache or something like that.
Right. Right.
So, I mean, that's another plus.
Yeah.
So, what did you do as far as sports growing up? What did you play?
I played almost every sport, growing up. I wrestled for a while. I did a bunch of stuff, but my main sports in high school were baseball, football, and I played basketball a year or two.
So, what made you make the transition from doing the three sports to just concentrate on football and baseball?
Well, back then in the 90s, it was kind of like, football, especially in Hammonton, football is the sport that most people play. And I was a 3-year starter in 3-year starter in baseball and 2 to 3 year starter in football. So, basketball was that winter sport that kind of was in the middle of both of them. And it was kind of like, all right, do you lift for football and get a little bit stronger, or do you play basketball? And I wasn't the best basketball player, but I was still an athlete. So I kind of went that route just to play the two.
Okay. And then you transitioned to college, and what did you do with your sports then?
I went to Stockton, and my freshman year, I played baseball. It was in between that wood bat phase that the college went through, and so they went to all wood bats instead of having the metal bats, and it was kind of just the experience wasn't there for me. So, yeah.
I think you get to a certain point, and if you decide you want to lock in on a career and focus on your studies, I mean, that's what a lot of people do. They go in they go in with one idea, and they realize like, hey, I think I can do better if I do this. I mean, look at you now. I mean, you're very successful as a teacher. Now you're a coach. So I mean, you got a little head start on that career. So what
Absolutely.
made you become a teacher?
Honestly, my sister's a teacher as well. We teach at the same school.
Oh, really?
So yeah. And when you're in Hammonton, you don't leave. So I left to leave, but to come out, but I'm teaching now. But yeah, my father was very involved in the board of education for the high school at Hammonton, and it's a volunteer job, and I kind of was around the classroom a lot. I was around athletics a lot, and it kind of led me to want to be a teacher. And I always tell the story that, everybody's like, well, what do you want to teach? Why did you want to teach that? Well, I didn't like math, science, or language arts. So I was like, well, I guess it's either social studies or phys ed. So I went the social studies route.
That's great. Well,
Yeah.
I'm glad you became a teacher. Tell us a little bit about your sister and her athletics and her teaching. What does she teach?
Yeah, my sister's an 8th grade language arts teacher. I'm 7th grade, so I don't really see her that often. I have one class across the hallway from her. But Kim was a very good athlete in high school. I believe she graduated in 96 or not. Yeah, believe I was a freshman when she graduated. So she was a very good soccer goalie. She was the female athlete of the year her senior year, I believe.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah.
Athletics runs in your family.
Yeah. She set a lot of records that I think some of them were broken, but she had the shutout record at the high school and stuff like that. So,
Wow, that's
yeah.
great. Let's talk about your coaching career. So
Yeah.
here you are, you're in college, and you decide you want to become a teacher. When did you decide you wanted to get into coaching, and how did you get involved?
So as I was a substitute teacher, still going to college, I was asked by the current boys coach, Joe Martino, who I was neighbors with almost my entire life, like literally the next house over. He gets the job, asked me if I wanted to be, a volunteer assistant because I was a substitute, and that was it. That was all she wrote. So that was how I got into basketball. As my first coaching job. Then a couple years later, when I got the job at the middle school, then I ended up being an assistant to the head coach at the middle school, and that run went on for about 12 years. Then I coached the girls. I was a head coach of the girls team for 2 years, and currently, right now, I'm the assistant coach of the baseball team at the high school, and now the head coach of the basketball team. So it's taken when you step back and look at it, the road to get here was it was a nice one, coaching different sports.
Yeah, that sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So what do you enjoy the most about coaching?
Honestly, the atmosphere. I think the atmosphere, the kids, watching the kids succeed. Listen, I'm a fun and energetic type of coach. You could ask the girls that now. We have a good time, but when we need to be serious, we're serious. But I think that they get a lot out of the type of person that I am. I don't scream at them. I always tell people I don't want them to come to practice and it has to be a job for them. I want them to like coming to practice. And Friday during our game, we were sloppy at times, and we didn't play our best game without a scrimmage, something like that. But I could see in their face that they weren't happy with what transpired. They wanted to get better. So I called a Saturday practice. We weren't supposed to practice all weekend. And then with the snowstorm coming, I'm like, listen, let's get in the gym tomorrow. They're like, all right, cool. They got right back at it. And it made me feel better about everything.
That's great. So can you talk about the process of how you actually became the head coach at Hammonton?
Yeah. So like I said, the head coach from last year, the last 2 seasons, I believe, actually was offered a vice principal's job in another district. So the job opened up. It was, out there for a couple weeks, got my interview, and that was it. I was very happy to get this job, to be honest with you, because the team that was coming back and so on, as we'll get to later, I'm assuming, was a part of the reason why I wanted to be the head coach of this team.
That's fantastic. So I assume that, I think we talked about this before the interview, that you had an opportunity to work with a lot of these players that you currently have on your squad now. So tell me what it's like, the transition between, working with the middle schoolers versus high schoolers.
It is different. It is a different, atmosphere when you're dealing with some of the kids coming up through middle school, because when you're coaching middle school, not that the motivation's not there, but once you hit the varsity level, it's a little bit of a different, more different experience. At middle school, I taught some of these girls. Now we're talking 4 or 5 years later, from 6th to 7th grade to now sophomores. They change, obviously, but it was nice because I taught a couple of these girls that I have now. They knew who I was coming in. They were excited to have a new coach, once I was named coach. And the hard thing about this year was, with COVID, we couldn't even talk to the girls. We couldn't see them. We couldn't practice. We couldn't do anything in the, I guess in the off season. But I couldn't have my first Zoom meeting until a week before the season. So they didn't even know who I was, who the coach was. So that was kind of difficult. So I've only known these girls for 3 weeks, and we've already had 1 game. So that's kind of tough.
Yeah, I mean, I think this year you kind of just make the best of the situation.
Absolutely.
You get the most out of your kids. and you just try to, make the best of each game. You grow from game to game, and then hopefully, the process helps to gel your team and mold them into a better team at the end of the year. And you use this as a building year, to establish a good, strong base, for your teams for years to come. It's really challenging. I mean, that was one of the things that we talked about, with, even just the education piece alone. I mean, things are just different. And hopefully by next year, you'll be able to install, your own practices and off-season training regimen, and different things like that. So can you tell us a little bit about maybe the history of Hammonton basketball from what you know?
Yeah, from the last couple years, they've had a fairly good team. I think they went 17-9 both years. They lost their two top scorers from last year, and they were very good. But one of the reasons, like I said, I was very excited to be the coach of this team was they had 3 freshman starters last year on varsity, and that's very big, to have. And it's not that they didn't have enough girls on the team; it's that these 3 freshmen were pretty good. So them becoming sophomores this year with some senior leadership, we only have 10 girls on the team this year. Okay. And part of that could be due to COVID and who didn't want to come out for the team and, the fear of an indoor sport. But we only have 1 level this year. So if you're out for the team, you're probably going to get some minutes on varsity this year, which is a great learning experience for the girls. History-wise in the program, I believe we've only won 2 conference titles. There have been years where we've gone through not very good seasons, but the last 3 seasons winning 17 games, that's fairly good. And it's a very good stretch.
And we talked a little bit about, you have a little bit of a change up this year from conferences. So what did Hammonton end up doing?
We were in the Tri-County the last 5 years, I believe. And now this year we're in the Cape Atlantic again. And the way that it's set up this year is their divisions, we can only play for a division title this year since there's no Cape playoff. So we are in the West Division this year, and it's technically for proximity reasons. They want to keep the travel as close as can be. So there are, I believe, 7 teams in our division this year.
Okay. So then how is your schedule set up? You're going to be playing each team like one time, or?
Each team we're going to play twice. We can only have a maximum of 15 games. I think that's across the board for everybody in the state. And we'll play each team twice with 2 crossover games. I believe our Lower Cape May and Egg Harbor Township are the crossover games that we have. But I think the furthest we have to drive is this Wednesday against Millville, and I believe Bridgeton's, fairly right near there.
Yeah, they're pretty relatively close. I think almost like neighboring towns.
Yeah.
So then, how does the playoff system work? Have you heard about that at all, or?
From what we've heard, there's no playoff.
Okay.
So it's just you win the division title, and then the season's done.
All right, great. So then you're playing each team twice. You get 2 crossovers. That's your 15 games.
Yeah. So we have 14 right now.
Okay. Has anybody been affected? Any of the teams been affected by COVID at all that are in your division?
I believe so. We were supposed to play today against Bridgeton, and from what I heard, the coach has COVID on the girls' team. So that game got moved to later in the season.
Yeah, it's just so hard because if you get shut down, it's 2 weeks. If you only have 6 weeks, that could be 4 to 5, 6 games.
Right.
And you're only allowed to have 2 weeks, I think, with 3 games in it. So how do you do your makeups unless they're going to, give allowances, exceptions for you for a team that hits COVID, to be able to make those games up. So I think that's going to hurt a lot of teams. It's going to hurt people that can't find games either.
Yeah, we had one space on our schedule which was considered a bye day, which you could add a game in there or so. So we already used that up to move the Bridgeton game into that. So like you said, you could only have 2 of the weeks where you have 3 games in that week. This was supposed to be one of the weeks, Monday, Wednesday, Friday this week.
Right. Well, hopefully, maybe you can pick up that, that last game if there's a team looking and, you have availability in your schedule.
Yeah.
It'll be great.
Yeah.
So can you talk a little bit about, what the team did last year and about some of the players that you had last year, and that you have them coming in this year?
Yeah. So last year they were 17-9. I believe they lost in the playoffs to Washington Township. They in the first round of the playoffs. Being in the Tri-County, it's a very tough basketball conference. They lost 2 games, I believe, to almost every division opponent. Well, Williamstown, Kingsway, Clearview, And then the crossover games that they had, Ulma, which is now in our division, we lost to them by about 4 points. So we're looking forward to going up against them again this year, twice.
That's great.
Yeah.
You know, I believe you said that you had 3 freshmen.
Yeah.
That started. Is that correct?
Yes.
So talk about the 3 freshmen a little bit
Yeah.
and what they're bringing to the team.
Emma Peretti is a sophomore this year. Her sister Sarah played also for us. I believe 2-3 years ago. She's playing in college right now, and Emma scored like 356 points last year as a freshman, which is very good for a freshman. You know, if you're looking at that 1,000-point barrier, especially even with the 8 to 10 less games this year, she should be fine getting there. So we'll see what that holds this year. And we also have Jada Palmieri, Ava DeVello, and Alexa Panagopoulos, who is also another sophomore. All 4 of those girls should be key contributors this year on our team.
Wow, I mean, you have a lot of youth, so you figure you're going to have them the next 2 years as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you'll be able to build a program around them. So
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you kind of a question off the cuff here. So
Yeah.
without the JV program, like what are your goals next year in order to get more girls out for the team? I mean, obviously COVID kind of put a wrench through a lot of stuff, but how can you build that JV program so you have numbers coming through going forward?
Well, we had 2 or 3 girls, just want to come out and sign up late, which was like the first 2 days of practice, but they didn't have a ride to because a lot of the kids aren't in school full time now. Who's at home on remote? Who only comes to school 2 days because we do different cohorts 2 days a week. So, that it's been a hamper. And also we don't have a middle school program this year. With no middle school sports in Hammonton this year. So that hurts as well, because usually that's your feeder program and you could go down, scout a little bit, your own players. So that does hurt. And to be honest with you, to answer your question, I have no idea yet. I really don't know how I'm going to do that. I would assume, because talking to the boys coach, they usually have 35 to 40 kids come out, and I think they only had 22 come out this year. So, the way it is this year, I guess we'll actually have to just see what happens going into sports next year, before we kind of figure out what we want to do.
Yeah, hopefully, things start to return to normal next year and we'll get a full season.
Yeah.
With that full season, you'll have more, options to meet with players at least. Maybe, they'll have workouts in the summertime with, captains and things like that.
Yeah.
One of the things I've talked to, several of our coaches that have come on is they do like clinics with the younger players just to try to develop that relationship. But it's hard. I mean, even in general now, I mean, across sports, I mean, basketball is like a middle of the road sport. It's sandwiched between, soccer and field hockey in the fall and lacrosse in the spring with softball. So a lot of people that are heavy into those sports use the winter time to get themselves in condition and to work on their skills, for the next season. So I think that's one of the factors, that kind of hurts, the numbers as far as people coming out for basketball.
Yeah. Yeah, we have a senior on our team who plays girls volleyball too. And now that volleyball got shifted from the spring to like later in this, I guess, whatever season they call it, season 4 or whatever. It's almost like, okay, as soon as our season's about to get done, she's starting her other season if she really wanted to play volleyball again. So it's like it's just wacky the way the scheduling and everything has turned out.
Yeah, we're in the same boat because my daughter, she played volleyball last year and she was hoping to play volleyball this year, but it's going to be like one right after the other. And I just don't know as far as commitment because that's, a big AAU season where, kids are playing and practicing and traveling. So I just don't know if the flexibility is going to be there, on the game side as far as volleyball, if she'll be able to commit. We won't know until it gets, closer to the time and the schedules are revealed. But, having that third season, I think kind of hurt a lot of athletes. If we had it in the fall, it would have been great because it would have been over now. I mean, you could have pushed basketball back 2 or 3 weeks and given a longer, fuller season. There's a lot of options that could have happened, but because they made that decision early on to push, volleyball, which is an indoor sport, back, it kind of like limited every all the choices and options for basketball. So basketball's just got this short window, 15 games, that's it. I mean, there's no other wiggle room because you just don't have the time,
Yep.
So let's talk about like going into this year. So, I know that you've worked with the middle school, teams over the course of the years, and you run practices a certain way, and I'm sure you're installing plays. How has COVID kind of impacted you? I know you said one of the things was the contact with the kids was limited until right before the season started. So, how are you making adjustments?
You know what? I think that the girls have been doing an excellent job with it, as far as keeping their masks on. And, if we're scrimmaging or running, then we take them off, to the standards of what the NJSIA has let us know we could do. But it is a totally different experience. I mean, just having, I was telling one of my coaches the other day, my assistant coach, I said, I'm just so happy Friday was here because it was like, now I get to concentrate on the game and basketball instead of worrying about all the different protocols that we have to follow with COVID, taking temperatures before practice, writing down the attendance of everybody who comes to practice, taking a picture of it, sending it to the trainer. It was almost like I couldn't enjoy the job yet because of everything else that had to come before it.
Yeah, it's tough because you have to do all this stuff because of contact tracing and making sure that the kids are healthy enough. You have to make sure you go over the rules with them, telling them that stay within your bubble. Don't be going out. I mean, in a lot of the schools, the girls have gone remote because they want to play their sports, so they don't want to get in contact with some. Because the thing is, if you're in a class with a kid, even if you don't have it and they test positive, you can get shut down for 14 weeks. It could potentially shut down your whole program, and now you lose a third of your season, and it's just tough. I mean, these girls want to play, so they're making sacrifices. I know they're resilient and they're adjusting, but it still is tough. And for a first-year coach, I think you're doing a nice job because you're just kind of going with the flow and just making the best of it, and I guess, unfortunately, learning as you go. But the good thing is a lot of other teams are learning as they go as far as
Right.
what's acceptable and what's going to work in a COVID situation and what's not going to.
I mean, even having veteran coaches like the coach you had on from Cherokee and, a bunch of the other coaches that I've listened to, even the veteran coaches have to figure out, what's different about the type of things that COVID has brought to us and what we've been doing, because this is new to everybody, rather if you're a first year coach or 20 years in the business.
Yeah, I really truly believe that, for everybody, it's an adjustment, hopefully temporary.
Hopefully.
Start getting back
Yeah.
to what we were used to, and just again produce high quality sports and give the girls an experience, the high school experience. And I think that's the most important thing. When I think about your JV team, is to get these girls out so they can feel what it's like. They can experience what it's like to play for your high school, to have that school pride,
Right.
Develop the relationship with the other kids, and then hopefully get something out of it as far as skill. Get better at a sport. And maybe if they decide they want to play in college, I mean, they have that opportunity, available. So,
I mean, even with, the shorter season and not having people in the gym, I mean, you could hear everything that I was saying on the live stream because you don't have that fan interaction. And it was just us, the referees, and the teams. That's what it kind of felt like in there. And it was a different experience. And with baseball in the springtime, when COVID first hit, we practiced for 5 days and then everything got shut down. So those seniors didn't even get a chance to play their last game of their senior year.
that's crazy. Well,
Yeah.
the one good thing is, a lot of times there's a fan or two in the crowd that's so like abrasive towards the referees, towards parents,
Yeah.
towards other people.
Coach.
Yeah, towards a coach.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about that now, which is great. So I guess
bet you the referees love this. The referees probably love this.
yeah, the concentration for the kids is if they can get to focus on the game. They don't have to worry about looking in the stands and seeing if their parents are upset with them because they made a bad play, or
Right.
hear people heckling them. They just get to focus on the game, and they get to focus on just having fun.
Yep.
and learning. So let's transition a little bit. What are your goals this year? When you first had an opportunity to sit down with your team, you had your tryouts. You obviously announced who's going to be on the team, and I'm sure you set forth some rules and some expectations for the team. What did you have in mind for them to work on this year?
Yeah, obviously having only 10 girls on the team, and from what I've seen, I mean, we played St. Joe Friday. I believe they had 9. I believe other schools it looks like on the bench 12. So it looks like there is, less girls on every team this year, which is not a very good thing. But, just with everything that's going on, my expectation for the girls was, listen, we're coming off 3 17-win seasons. Yes, we lost our top two scorers, but I want to win a division this year. Like, that's what we're striving for. We're not just striving to win 3, 4, 5 games. I believe, you know, especially with the girls coming back, having that varsity experience, and we have a senior co-captain, 2 more seniors, so we have 3 seniors and a junior. I believe that we can do some damage this year. And listen, losing to Oma last year by 3 or 4 points, not playing Williamstown, Clearview, Kingsway, those teams, you know, and you know what motivates me? When I see the paper and we're not in the top 11 or the top 15, that motivates us. And I go right to the girls and I tell them, hey, listen, we got passed over again. Time to get more motivated. I mean, all they've been doing is winning 17 games the last 3 seasons. We started off 1-0 this year. You know, I have that style. Like I said, I have a lot of energy. I want to push the ball. We want to go up tempo. We get our baskets when we can get them. Okay, well, I don't want to sit around in a shell on offense and just pass the ball around and try and kill the time. We want to push the ball. Yeah, that's pretty much my philosophy.
Yeah, and if that works and you have the athletes to run it,
Yep.
I mean, that's the good thing about having 10. If you can go pretty deep into your bench, you could run all day long and just constantly sub the kids out and tire the other team out. I mean, it's part of your strategy as well. So, and then the kids get more playing time. Everybody gets an opportunity to play.
Exactly.
That's really how you're going to develop your team for the future. If you only go 6 and the kids don't play, I mean,
Right.
you're basically hurting the development of the other 4 players. Without that JV experience now, you have to find ways to get these kids to play, or else your development over the next 2 years is really going to be kind of stunted a little bit. So that's the way to play, man.
Yeah, all 10 of our girls got in on Friday. One's a freshman who really hasn't played a lot of basketball before. So it was good to get her in the last 3, 4 minutes of the game. But yeah, we had all 9. It was senior night. So we had all 9 girls, 10 girls get in. So it was great.
So how did you celebrate your senior night? What did you do? Like, I know it's crazy because it's like normally the kids would come out, they'd be on the court, their parents would be there, there'd be fans, family in the stands.
Yeah.
How'd you do it?
So what we did was, like I said, being a first year head coach, like this is all new to me, but the girls got together, we chipped in some cash, and we got the girls, the 3 seniors that we have, some gifts. We gave them to them at practice the day before, kind of had our own little 6 feet apart senior congratulation event. And our superintendent actually let the senior parents come into the gym for pregame. And before the game started, I did an announcement at center court. Then they left. So it was a different experience. They couldn't take pictures with them or anything like that. We adhered to all the rules, but it's a crazy time. But the seniors loved what they got, and I think that they were kind of taken back by what we could do, what we couldn't do, and they were just happy to have the game being played, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think, in the grand scheme of things, the kids just want to play. And, if it means that their parents can't come, but they can play, I think it's just a sacrifice that we make, even as fans. Like, I want to be there in the stands, and I've been in the stands, my daughter's whole career.
Yeah.
And for us not to be there, to be able to, support her or look at her during the game and watch and see how she's playing. I mean, it's tough. I mean, we do the live stream, but the great thing about the live stream is we have, friends and family from all over the United States that are watching. We have, from our team alone, for Cherokee, they have fans from Canada. They have fans from New England area. We have New York, Pennsylvania. We have friends that are in Texas and then also in Colorado. So, I mean, they're getting support now from people that would never have an opportunity to come to the game. And these games were never live streamed before. So if you missed a game, you missed a game. You never had a chance to watch it. But now I think it's going to help get more fans, actually. And when there's an opportunity to be in the stands, we'll have people,
Absolutely. I was thinking the same thing as you were saying that. This changes the aspect for everything. How about coaches who want to go scout? They don't have to leave. They don't have to go to the game now. They can watch it on the live stream if they really wanted to. It's something that last year or even 2-3 years ago, who would have thought we would be live streaming games in an empty gym so that people could watch? But at least it's great for the girls who are playing, that their parents or whoever could still watch them.
Yeah, I think that's the key. And I think with the live streaming, it makes things a little bit easier.
Yeah.
It makes it easier on the parents, and they feel like they can still be a part of it. And I hope that they keep the live streams going. And I just hope that the coaches, can figure out something to do with the tapes and, share it amongst the different coaches. Because like you said, I mean, you're a dad with, 2 kids, you got almost 2-year-old. I mean, that's a night or two that you have to be out, not to spend with your, with your son, where if you have a good relationship and the coaches can all, agree and work together, just provide tapes to each other, you scout each other's games, and it makes life easy, and everybody, has an opportunity to play a good game and prepare.
Well, when I honestly, before the St. Joe game, which was Friday, I told my girls, I was like, I just thought about something. I'm going to send you guys a Google Meet link, and we're going to present the screen, and we're going to watch it together. And they're like, oh, you know what? That's pretty cool. Now, when would you ever get to scout a game with your whole team with you? You know what I mean? So that was a great experience for me. And then as the game is going on, I had the volume muted, and I was talking to them. All right, look, they're in a 2-3. This is what we could run against this. So that was a great experience for me.
Yeah, I never actually even thought about that. I mean, I thought about you can run film as you go, but you can run it live, and then you can view it as a group. I mean, I thought about, just different ways. Like you can just learn a lot from watching other teams, because there's, teams across the state that are just, really talented, but you're never getting an opportunity to watch them just because of proximity. Like, if you want to watch a North Jersey team, like a St. John Vianney, or you want to watch, a Trenton Catholic or a Rutgers Prep, just go on the live feed. A lot of people, play with different kids anyway, and you make friends along the way. So this is hopefully an opportunity to, like, expand the community, meet other parents, and then cheer for each other. Like we have friends that, Gabby's played with that are at different schools, like Cinnaminson, Shawnee, Haddon Township, Haddon Heights. So I try to catch their streams and watch their games. We still watch with some parents where we watch each other's games, and we'll be texting each other. Oh, did you see that play? Or, your daughter's doing, did this really well. And we still try to keep it as fresh as it was, and keep it almost as similar to what it was, because that's how we would do it, except for we couldn't watch the game. Typically, if your son was playing and my daughter was playing, I'd say, hey, how are things going? And you'd send me an update. And I do the same, like, oh, we're down by 3 or up by
That's all,
1 minute left. And you're just waiting for the update to come. But now with the stream deck, you can see it, and it's a lot better. So I think that's going to be important too. So talk about what it was like a little bit now, being a new coach, you have to make up for some scoring from the previous teams, some real, probably, I would assume, some key players, if they're, your scoring leaders, the seniors that graduated. So how are you, like, making that adjustment now to this team that you currently have?
Yeah, that was partly, the sloppiness that we had in the first game. Throwing bad passes, creating turnovers. Like I said, we kind of understood what we had coming into the first game. We didn't press. I think getting that first game off of our backs, we kind of understand now what goes into it, what we have to do. But, scoring wise, we could shoot the ball this year. I don't think we lost anything with that. I think that our low post presence is good. We have 3 girls that are 5'11", which is good. And our guards can shoot, which is good. Our point guard had 12 points. Our big had 12 points as well. So there was a good, communication there between the guards and the bigs, that, it wasn't just one person taking all the shots, which is good. That's what I kind of want. I want that balance there.
Yeah, balance is definitely the key. So, talking about your team and talking to your team, what would you say are the keys for them to be successful, day in and day out? And, when you look back on the season, you're able to say, look, if you do these things well, we're going to be in the game, in tight games, and we have an opportunity to win. So what would you, tell your team that they need to work on? What are the keys to the game?
Coming into this year, like you said, first year head coach, you didn't know what to expect, COVID, all different rules. I'm so proud to be the coach of this team, and just the close-knit girls that we have, 3 seniors, mainly a lot of sophomores on the team, but they're all close together. They're all close with one another, which is great. They all have that group text together. They talk about everything, and that's what you want. You want that kind of team bonding and that team effort, we did a basketball scavenger hunt the one day, where they split up into teams of 5. I gave them 10 things they had to do, and it's like that team bonding and that team building that I always loved as an athlete, and I wanted them to do as well. You know, in the game, stick together. Okay, something goes wrong, they go on a 10-0 run. It's okay. Relax. We'll get it back. We'll call a timeout. We'll regroup. We'll settle down. You know, for instance, Friday night, St. Joe hit a 3 to start the game. Everybody was kind of looking around at each other like, "Oh my God!" I said, "Guys, it's only 3-0. That's it. It's 3-0. We're okay." And then we went on like a 10-12-0 run, and we ended up being up like 29, like 19-5 at the half. So, you know, my biggest thing is team. You know, it's that old phrase that's used. You know, teamwork. Stick together. It's not about one person. Okay, it's about the whole team. And from the best person on our team to the freshman on our team, I think that they are just as excited for anybody who does anything.
Yeah, I mean that sounds, you know, I think when you work as a team, like you said, balance, I think is
Yep.
the key, and that's part of that teamwork. Because if it's coming from one player, then all the other team has to scout and say, okay, we just got to shut down number, you know, whatever. And if they key in on that person, then you're dead in the water. You basically you have no opportunity to win. But if you spread the ball around and different people are contributing to the win, now it's going to be more difficult for them because they can't just have that. Let's double team this person. Let's trap this person. Let's, you know, do whatever, because you have to be accountable for the other 4 players that are on the court. You know, if they're going to try to take one piece out, that's going to leave somebody open, and then that person is going to be able to take advantage. So that's going to prevent a lot of teams from doing that,
Yeah.
which is key. You know, I just love talking to the different coaches because they talk about, you know, what they bring to the court as far as, you know, their coaching philosophy and their style, and it just seems like, you know, I think right here you're just trying to teach the kids to be a family,
Yep.
and I think that's really important. I really believe that over the course of your career, that you're going to get that cohesiveness, you're going to get players out, and Hammonton girls is really going to develop into a program now where the JV team is going to be filled, and then you're going to have, you know, the freshman team to be filled. But they just have to get the word out, and hopefully you can figure out a way for these girls here to, you know, connect with the younger girls, because that was one thing that, you know, I noticed about my daughter is she connected with high school players as a 4th grader, and we would go to the games, we would watch, and she would think it was cool because, you know, so and so, you know, gave her a high five, or so and so came to their practice and showed her how to dribble the ball, like little tiny things that, you know, the older kids would think nothing of, but the little kids think like, wow, this is like amazing, because they look at these girls as like their role models, as heroes, and eventually you're setting the stage for them to be on that court. So for them to be able to walk on that court, that's a big step for them. So
Yep. 100%. I agree with that.
what do you think about, you know, South Jersey girls basketball? Obviously, I mean, I think one of your things is you want to build, you know, the Hammonton basketball name. You know, I think that you would like to, you know, win some games, achieve some success, and to hopefully get your team ranked at some point, so they can get that recognition and kind of inspire and motivate the kids.
Mhm.
But how do you think we should, you know, build our programs, build our, you know, the word about ourselves, and then even just South Jersey girls basketball in general?
Yeah, like I said, coming into, you know, this season, being a baseball coach, and you know that was my forte. I coached freshman football as well, but stepping into the girls basketball, you know, spotlight now, I've become more active on Twitter with doing, you know, obviously met you that way, just following different accounts, following and listening to different accounts. I do see a little bit of a bias towards boys hoops. You know, as far as more things getting out there, but like you said, the more the word I put out there, the videos, I put a lot of stuff on senior night. I'm starting to put a lot more videos on to get that recognition for my girls. And I'm starting to see a little bit more of that throughout South Jersey as well, especially with you guys. You're doing your show, and it's great. Like I said, I've been watching the last 4 or 5 episodes that you've done since I started following you and the different coaches, and I'm starting to learn and understand a lot more too.
Yeah, that's the nice thing about it is the coaching community. You're going to meet a lot of coaches, and you're going to make some friendships. and they're going to help you. Because I think that overall, coaches want to see everybody be successful, and I think they can respect somebody in their profession that wants to have their team get better. So, I mean, you're going to have some opportunities to call different coaches, to ask them, pick their brain, find out what they do, listening to different podcasts, you can hear, what some of the veteran coaches are doing in order to grow their program or continually to make their program successful. What's the travel program like in Hammonton, or do they have a travel basketball program, or is it just primarily rec?
Yeah, it's not necessarily a travel program. It is rec more, and I don't even know if they started yet or if they're allowed to play this year. I haven't heard anything about it. It's the Bulldogs, Hammonton Bulldogs, it's called.
Okay.
But yeah, I haven't. As far as a travel team, I don't believe there's anything as far as high school. But like you said, more AAU and stuff like that.
Yeah, so hopefully, I mean, maybe you can figure out how to connect with that rec program and maybe run some camps and things like that. You give the girls an opportunity. So that's the one thing I would recommend, because one of the things that I hear from parents is that, and like you said, everything's for boys. Like camps are for boys, all the coverage is for boys. Everything is boy oriented, and I think that having something that's just for girls is less intimidating, because I know that the girls can go to the boys stuff, but a lot of them don't like to, because they don't want to be in class with some kids that they consider their peers, who they might think, because sometimes girls think they're goofy, boys are goofy at a young age, and they don't want to be with them. They want to just be with their friends. And I think if you can put that kind of environment together, I think that's really going to help. Mike from SJBIT, I think he does a really good job with his weekly podcast, highlighting teams, highlighting players. And I think the other thing too is you have to be an advocate for your own self and your own team. And I think you've done that, like you said, following different players, making connections, and then just reaching out. I mean, that's how I basically grew the podcast was, if I saw somebody and I thought they were doing, something I liked, I would reach out to them and ask them for help or ask for their advice. And every person that I've interacted with has been great. One of the coaches that I hope to have come on is Coach Steve DePatry from Wildwood Catholic. And the reason why I say that is during the summertime, my mom, she bought a shore house last year. So we were able to spend a couple weeks there. And I was like, oh, I need a place for, Gabby to train. So I reached out to the coach and said, hey, you know the area. I don't know the area. Is there any opportunities for high school players to, train and things like that? And he put me in touch with a trainer, and then he put me in touch with opportunity for her to do an open gym, and it was fantastic. So we went on vacation. She was able to play. She was able to meet some friends, and it was great. But the community is open, and they're very helpful. I think the thing is you have to reach out for it and get that help. So my question,
that's exactly what I want to do. Obviously with COVID and everything, camps and stuff, I don't know if they're going to be, run as much as they usually are. And it would be great to, be a head coach of a varsity program and run a camp to show the kids, hey, listen, when you're here in 4, 5, 6, 7 years, this is what you're going to be doing. Even them coming to see a practice would be great.
Yeah, that would be great. Like, I want to get back to the parts where, we would have the kids from the rec program come to the high school games.
Yep.
And just make it a fun environment, a fun atmosphere. I mean, with sports now anymore, like going to a professional sport, you're going to drop $200 with a family of 4 easy, and probably more. I mean, by the time you have tickets, gas, parking, food, then the kids want T-shirts, and then they want, what I mean? By the time you get all kinds of stuff, it's just going to be a fortune. So going to a high school basketball game could probably ignite, some interest from these young kids, get some fans, but also some future players. And for a family, it's going to cost them a couple bucks, like what, $10 to get in for family of 4. It's like, $2 or $3 to get in for NJSIA prices. So it's cheap,
Make it a night. The coach, you can get in for free too,
Yeah, take advantage of it, and that's perfect. So I just want to say, thanks for coming on and, let me interview you.
Absolutely.
I hope to interview you again in the future, and maybe we could talk about, some of the things that have led you to success, because I have no doubt that you're going to be successful. This is a year that's kind of like, let's just take it one game at a time and just enjoy and let the kids play. And then as you go a couple years down the road, I think that's when you really hone in your system and get the kids to really, really focus on, postseason, qualifying for the playoffs as far as that, or, you know, if you have conference championships. But, you know, I think when those freshmen are seniors, that would be a very interesting team to kind of watch it and to see their progression and to see what happens to that group. So look forward to seeing that.
Yeah, I'm excited even for this year. You know, like I said, we're shooting for a division title. We want to see how far we could take it, how good we actually are. I got to talk to Mike at SJBIT over there. I gotta tell him we need to be in those rankings.
Hey, you know what? You know what the cool thing about Mike is? Message him. He is
like, yeah, what do you mean? Come on, man, Hammonton.
Yeah, he's one of the nicest guys to like talk to. Actually, he and I became friends because of that. I don't know how it happened, but like one day I messaged him or he messaged me, and then we just started talking. And like we probably during the basketball season, we probably messaged each other like, you know, a couple times a day, like, hey, how are things going? Or like he gives me feedback on my podcast. I tell him like, hey, you know, like I thought your live broadcast is doing a lot, you know, it's getting better each time. He's like, yeah, you know, and he makes adjustments. And he asks for my advice, and I do the same. So hey, hit him up, man, and even ask him if he can connect you with some coaches,
Absolutely.
you know, to hit up and talk to, you know, maybe to get some advice to grow your program and to like really get a JV and freshman, you know, team going and to get into the community. Because I'll tell you what, man, if you can network with those other coaches, I mean, you could probably be one of the most successful coaches, you know, in that area, at least the history of the team, if not the area. So I wish you good luck.
I'll do whatever I can, man. Appreciate you having me on.
All right. Talk to you soon. Take care.
Thank you.